It's been a good day. It's been a good couple of episodes we had.
Yeah. We talked about stabbing my brain and how much I hate people.
And I think it's been a great show. You guys have been here with us the whole way, and
It's been...
I think that this is a really good high note to end it on.
End it.
I mean, look, you don't want to have a decline. You know, Breaking Bad was an amazing show because it kept increasing and increasing and increasing in excitement and quality. And then it ended. There was
this is the best we're going to do?
I mean, you just can't know. So I think that this is a good place to call it.
That makes me so sad.
So do you want to keep doing the show then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. Hello, I'm Dylan.
I'm Lauren.
Welcome to the show. So we have here a story about a parent who snuck their child into Disney World. And do you know how they snuck their child into Disney World, Lauren?
How did they sneak their child into Disney World?
Thanks for asking. I'm glad you're so curious.
I am.
It's not
on the
like
edge of my seat.
You definitely didn't read this story before. And you're so excited to hear all this salient information.
Oh, I'm Dylan, and I have a word of the day book.
So the parent was trying to sneak their kid in by disguising it in a stroller. So basically the kid is 4, and at Disney World you have to have a ticket to get in if you are 3 years old or older. So what this parent says is that, well, yeah, my son is 4, but at Disney World he knows that he's 2. So that's
I think when I first saw this article, when it came out, when did it come out?
Oh, it came out as we're recording this, it came out like 3 weeks ago. It came out in September of 2022.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I forgot why I asked.
You said that when I originally heard this,
right,
however long ago.
So I read the article, and I read the comments, because the article was on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook.
Oh, yes. So the article's on Facebook, and I think I read the comments before I read the article.
As one does. Well, because you're already on Facebook. The article isn't on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to click away to go to the New York Post, right?
Very true.
And so obviously you're going to read the comments first.
So some of the comments I saw were along the lines of just how horrible of a mother this person is for teaching their child to lie.
So, teaching their child to lie. Okay, yeah, no, I see that. Yeah, I see why people would think that. I don't know if this automatically makes you a bad parent.
No, I think it makes you a great parent.
Okay, explain.
Okay, life is hard, you know?
Right.
Sometimes you just need to think outside the box in order to make things a little easier.
Okay.
And okay, so I'm saying this. I was 12 years old for an extra 3 or 4 years.
For why?
Anytime I went to a restaurant with my mom and they actually made you, it was like buffets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at a buffet restaurant, the prices
were lower if you were 12 or under.
Okay.
So I was 12 until I was 15.
So what changed when you turned 15? Did you just not look 12 anymore?
I just named a random number.
Okay.
I don't actually know if it was 15.
Okay.
I think I started getting questions. They were like, there's no way she's this old. Or she's this young.
Yeah.
So once we started getting those kind of remarks and people questioning it, that's when we stopped it.
Right. All right. So you're a 12-year-old, 15-year-old getting into a buffet restaurant.
Yeah. For 50% off.
Was it really that much
cheaper? I don't know. I'm just naming numbers.
Okay. I did not. This was not my experience.
What do you mean?
My parents didn't take me to a buffet restaurant and tell me to. Well, maybe they did actually. Maybe they did tell me to say that I, or at least not say that I was over a certain age. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she did.
So you think that this mother who smuggled her son into Disney World, you don't think that is
I
wrong?
think it's ridiculous that Disney World costs that much for one day.
Right. It costs $109 at least.
And that's not including food and souvenirs and...
Yeah, no, amusement parks are very expensive, especially Disney. If you're a family, those tickets are expensive, and that can make a difference for a lot of families. You know, the difference of one ticket price.
Yeah. I think when Walt Disney actually started the amusement park, like a big part of it was to make it accessible.
Well, Disney's the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be affordable, is what I mean.
That's what I mean, is that like the happiest place on earth should be accessible to everyone on earth.
But no, here we are monetizing every single thing. I mean, I guess it's better than in London where you have to pay to use the public restrooms.
I got in trouble for not paying to use a public restroom one time.
Oh, no.
So I was in the Netherlands and at a train station. And you have to, in the train station, you had to put a coin in a machine to get into the restroom. So there was like a gate that would let you into the restroom once you put your coin in the machine. And I was putting my coin in the machine and then I dropped it. And the surface of the ground was like this metal grate that was like maybe an inch deep, but then it was floor underneath. So you could reach in and grab the coin. And I was trying to do that, but it was really difficult. And there was this guy behind me. So he was like, "Here, just go." And he put his coin in right as I was like getting mine out and about to pay for it. So he was like, I'm doing a nice thing for this guy. And so I get in and I use the restroom, and then immediately who comes around the corner but I don't know who this guy is. I guess the janitor. And he in perfect English, right? Like you cannot tell this guy is Dutch, right? Like he could be from like Ohio. That's an exaggeration, but he spoke perfect English because everyone in the Netherlands does. So he said,
"If you want to talk about the happiest place in the world,
it is not the restroom at a train station in the Netherlands,
but it may be Netherlands."
The Netherlands may be the happiest place on earth.
All right, continue.
All right, so the janitor comes and he says, you really could get in serious trouble for not paying to use the restroom. That is an offense that is punishable by up to a €200 fine. And this guy was really intimidating. And I was scared of this guy. And I was in high school at the time as well. And so this guy comes and he says, I could get fined up to €200 for not putting €2 in the bathroom gate. And I was like, I'm sorry, here. And then I gave him my coin. And looking back, I think that could have gone way worse. He could have extorted me for everything that I had.
Which was €2.
I think I had a little more than €2.
€5.
Maybe I had €5.
Okay, there you go.
But he just took the coin that I was going to put in the machine. And I don't know, maybe he put it in the machine himself, or maybe he just put it in his pocket. I don't know.
But how'd he know that you didn't put the coin in? Because if he came around the corner after you went in.
In the Harold and Kumar movie where they're at the red light at the intersection in the middle of nowhere, and it's a red light and it's the middle of the night, and they look both ways. So they look left, there's no cars. They look right, there's no cars. They look left again, right again. There's no cars the whole time. And then they're like, all right, screw it. I'm going to run the red light. And then immediately a police officer comes to pull them up. This was like that for me, except that it wasn't fiction. And instead of me running a red light, I was going to the bathroom. And instead of a police officer, it was the janitor.
So he appeared out of nowhere.
From my perspective, yeah.
There we go. So back to Disney World.
I
Were
mean,
there any repercussions?
I'm not sure, and I'm not really that interested. What I'm more interested in is the fact that some people are like, well, this is like the equivalent of stealing. Like you're stealing something by getting your child in for free. Of course, you're not like there's nothing that you are physically taking, you know? It's not like I went into your house and I took your computer, you know?
Yeah.
They just got their kid in without paying the ticket.
Like, I understand that, you know, like I understand how people could be like, that's stealing and that's bad. But also, it's a 4-year-old.
It's stealing in the sense that they're evading
Paying.
the ticket.
Yeah.
I think that is technically considered a form of theft. But you're right. Like, I don't know. I feel like I can be a real rules lawyer, and I feel like whatever consequence there has to be, then it has to be applied. Because, yeah, you're supposed to pay a ticket for your 4-year-old, and you didn't pay the ticket. You finessed them in. And so that, you know, you have to pay for the ticket to get in. Do I I'm at the end of the day, I'm still sympathetic for this person.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the question. It's kind of like a philosophical thing, this whole thing. For example, right? Let's say you are walking, or not you're walking. Let's say you are at the checkout of a grocery store and they have a newspaper in the impulse aisle, right? If you start reading the front page of the paper, if you start reading like the article on the front page, is that stealing?
So I have a story with that.
Okay.
I didn't know it was bad to look at magazines before buying them. So when I was younger, when I was like around like 13 years old, maybe, I don't know. Again, just a number. So don't ask me questions about me being 13 and what prompted me to make this decision.
I'm listening.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it, but I'm not just looking at the magazine. I'm taking pictures of the magazine because I thought some of the tips were useful, you know, in my pubescent female mind. Like, I wanted to know what color eyeshadow goes best with my eyes, you know?
Yeah. It's 2008. You have to know these things.
Yeah. Like, I want to know all that. I want to know what trends are.
Yeah, you've never heard about a trend before, and you need to know what is it. You're like, hey, I'm hearing about these things called trends. What are they? And what do they mean to me?
Yeah. So I'm over here taking pictures, and my mom comes up, and she's like, Lauren, stop. You can't do that.
And are you, where are you? Like, what kind of store?
Grocery store.
Okay.
And I'm just completely confused. I'm like, what do you mean I can't do this? They're here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just like, I don't understand why what I'm doing is wrong. And now I understand it, you know, because that's something you buy to read. If you read it there, it's technically stealing.
Right.
In a way.
So do you think that applies to the newspaper as well? Like if you start reading the article that you can see on the front page when it's displayed?
I don't think that's stealing because you are not opening it up and you are not taking photos of it.
You're not yes, you're not taking photos of it. I mean, I think that most people would agree that the front page of the newspaper is fair game, because that's like the advertisement for the paper. It's like the clickbait. It's the clickbait that they use to get you to actually buy a newspaper. They're like, I was going to think of an example, but I can't think of anything. It's okay. What about What about a street performer? They're in the street and they're playing their Stradivarius violin on the street corner, and it's beautiful. And you just stand there and listen because you think it's beautiful and you love street performers. And you're like, wow, that's really beautiful. I love listening to them. If you don't give them a tip, are you stealing from them?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, like, I didn't think it was either.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because it's the same kind of concept as the newspaper and getting the content out of it without paying.
Yeah.
But in this case, the street performer, as horrible as they are this hypothetical violinist is performing for free.
Mm-hmm.
But they also accept tips.
Okay.
Not obligated for tips, obviously, because you can't make people pay for something they don't ask for.
I mean, you can try, but it's not practical.
I really don't like street performers.
You don't? This is news to me.
I'm fuming.
I can see the fumes emanating from you.
Good.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, based on the letter of the law, I feel like this parent is clearly stealing by smuggling their kid in. Do I blame them for it? No, not at all. I totally sympathize with them. But I'm not really interested, in my opinion.
Then why'd you bring it up?
Well, everybody's got an opinion these days, and that's just the way of the world now. Everybody has an opinion, just like everybody has a podcast. Why do we have a podcast? Because we can.
I mentioned my podcast at work. Just mine. No, our podcast at work.
Yeah.
And this person's like, I have a podcast too.
Yeah. Everybody has a podcast.
Especially after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were definitely late to the game because...
Oh, yeah. We started...
like a month ago.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I think the time when really, quote unquote, everybody had a podcast was from like maybe 2017 to 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, because we had classmates who released a podcast together, and they only ran it for 5 episodes. So I don't know. I think they kind of did it as a meme.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But now that we have a podcast, everybody has one. We were the last 2.
We were the last 2, or we were the last 2?
We were the last people who did not have a podcast, and now we have one. So now everybody has one.
And we just happen to be 2 people.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
I mean, I didn't have a podcast, and you didn't have a podcast, but now I have a podcast, and you have a podcast. They just happen to be the same one.
Love it.
So you told me Taylor Swift is the Shakespeare of our time.
I did.
Why is Taylor Swift the Shakespeare of our time?
Okay.
I don't think I disagree with you, but I think I need more.
You don't agree with me?
I said I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, but that just means you don't agree with me.
No.
I don't know. It doesn't sound like you agree with me when you say I don't disagree.
Okay, I see what you mean. So tell me why Taylor Swift, when you messaged me today and you told me that you have 12 pages of notes, front and back.
With big writing, okay?
With big writing on small pages, front and back.
There you go. Okay. So, is Shakespeare the Taylor Swift of that time, or is Taylor Swift the Shakespeare of our time? Let's find out. So let's start with Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote things.
Okay. Can't argue with that.
No, you can't argue with that. No, he wrote things that had multiple meanings, multiple innuendos. Everything he did in his writing had a purpose.
Right.
So when you're acting, if you are an actor, or if you are being forced to read Romeo and Juliet in your 10th grade English class, every single thing was purposefully put down on paper.
That's what my English teacher told me.
Really?
Yeah, of course my English teacher would tell me that.
My English teacher didn't tell me that.
What did your English teacher tell you?
Not that.
Okay.
Yeah, so the number of syllables in a line, if there's rhyming couplets or ABAB pattern, just everything means something. Even the punctuation means different things.
Yeah. A comma.
Alliteration.
Yeah.
It's all very, very methodical and calculated. I believe Taylor Swift is also very calculated and meticulous. And is meticulous the right word?
I think so.
Okay. I believe everything she does has a reason, at least in terms of with public appearances.
Right.
Because she knows how to avoid paparazzi and people, right?
Yeah.
But when people do see her, they're able to decode things based off what she's wearing. And are they just reading into things? Probably, but also probably not. I was late to the idea that Taylor Swift has secret hidden Easter eggs in her clothes and what she holds and her writing and all of the above.
Her clothes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an entire Reddit dedicated to Taylor Swift messages and codings and whatever.
I'm sure there is. There's always, anytime I have an idea and I search that idea, almost every time somebody else has had that idea. Before.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an original idea.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That
Except your unless you're Taylor Swift.
Yes. Well, but William Shakespeare.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm sure William Shakespeare, he copied things from everybody, so.
Everything's a remix.
Yep. So in February of 2022, and this is when I first realized these kind of Easter eggs she had in the public. She was seen with her parents in Brooklyn, and she was holding a large notebook and a keyboard, and she was wearing very specific clothes. So she was wearing a black oversized coat, straight jeans, chunky loafers, but it was very much the vibe of Evermore or Folklore.
Right.
And Dylan, somehow somebody decoded this to mean that she was doing a song with Ed Sheeran and that the song was The Joker and the Queen.
Wait, so they guessed the title and they guessed that it was a collab with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. Well, also, I believe Ed Sheeran put Easter eggs in his music video.
Sure, yeah.
But there were all these little clues and everything, and people dove real deep to figure this out.
Yes. Everybody with all the time on their hands.
Yeah. So, right. So she is releasing her album Midnights.
Right.
This Friday at midnight. Would it be? It would technically be Friday. I just don't know how to refer to it because it's technically Thursday night because nobody's going to wake up at midnight.
Taylor Swift is releasing an album called Midnights at exactly midnight.
Yes. On the 21st.
Yes.
And she has been driving people crazy with decoding all these messages.
But I think that she knows that people are doing that. And she's probably like, I'm going to be really cryptic. You're going to decode my message. Everything has a reason. And then everybody's like, oh, her cat is in the video. That has to mean something.
That has to mean it's featured.
That has
Someone's
to mean
featured in it.
her cat is a featured artist.
No.
So she's been doing all these Instagram stories and obviously like dropping hints about what
Mm-hmm.
is going to be in them, and people are going to speculate. This is what
Yeah.
she wants.
Yeah. I think like one of them, she actually laughed because she realized how much people are going to go crazy over a song title. To be fair, I think that song title was Karma. And there's like all this speculation that she has a secret album called Karma. And people figured this out by diving into her clothes and her music videos and her songs and stuff she said in the past, in her lyrics, and in life.
Like this one time in 2007 when she was 16.
Is that it? That's all you're going to say?
I'm
Okay.
imitating one of those people.
Okay. I understand. So her TikTok stories were called Midnight Mayhem with Me. And she used like one of those bingo ball mixer thingies.
Mm-hmm.
And she put 13 numbered balls
Right. So
in
the
there.
numbers,
And
so
she
the
named
numbers
it
1 through
randomly.
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every night she would, or not every night, but occasional nights she would post a video in which she would pick a random number and she would say the name of the track. But when she said the name of the track, like sometimes she'd answer the phone with her left hand to announce it. Sometimes she would answer with her right hand, and sometimes the phone would be upside down.
So obviously, like Taylor Swift has a huge PR team, and
I like the idea that she does this all on her own.
do you think Shakespeare had a huge PR team?
No.
Do you think the Queen was his brand manager?
Brand manager? I don't think he had a brand.
I think he had a brand.
At the time, no.
No?
I don't think people cared about him at the time. I mean, maybe a little bit, but he wasn't like nearly as famous until after he died, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. No, because he did like so much.
I mean, like, whenever I learned about Shakespeare in English class, they were talking about how his plays were like a thing that people would go to, and it was like it was an event for the whole community. Like, you had the seats where like the rich people paid a lot of money to sit, but then you also had this just giant pit in the center where people are like eating rotten tomatoes and, you know, stepping in mud and all this kind of stuff.
Why are they eating rotten tomatoes?
Because they're poor and that's the only food they have access to.
That's sad.
Well, they also can't afford play tickets, so that's why they're standing in the pit.
Yeah, no, that's true. And today you still have to pay to be in the pit.
The pit actually costs more now.
Wait, no, it doesn't. Does it?
I mean, if you're at a concert or something.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like at the Globe. Anyway. Oh, also, I believe I was confusing Shakespeare with Van Gogh. You know how like nobody gave a shit about Van Gogh
Yeah.
until he died.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, wait, he has some cool stuff. Maybe we were wrong about him.
Yeah. I think that people were just like once he died, they probably like hyped him up in order to increase the value of their art so that they could sell it for more. It was like an investment for them.
Yeah, no, very true. I can't believe those protesters threw soup at one of his paintings in a museum.
What was that all about again?
It was like a climate change protest, or it was some kind of protest in which they threw soup, like tomato soup, on the sunflower painting.
The sunflower painting.
Right? The sunflower painting.
Oh my god.
And then they glued their hands to the wall and then started protesting, obviously.
I don't see how throwing soup on a painting has anything to do with climate change.
I mean, it gets attention.
It does.
Yes.
All right. Awesome.
Anyway, back to Taylor Swift. So she announced this album the night of the MTV Movie Awards, Music Awards, MTV Video Music Awards. I believe that's when she announced it. But anyway, she wore a chandelier, like mini dress. And people immediately drew connection to her music video of Look What You Made Me Do. And that song is based off Kanye and how he interrupted her like exactly 13 years before she announced this and before the MTV Music Video Awards happened.
Mm-hmm.
So they believe she wore that dress to mimic when she was laying in the bathtub filled with diamonds in her music video. And the fact that she was also wearing it to the music video awards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it a coincidence?
And it happened 13 years.
And her favorite number
after.
is 13.
Are there going to be 13 songs on the album?
There are.
Whoa.
So, yeah, but it doesn't stop there. All right.
The plot thickens.
She also wore a silver dress the night Kanye interrupted her when she was accepting her reward.
The first, this is like whenever it happened, like 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody doesn't know what happened, she was accepting an award. Everybody was really happy. And then Kanye jumped up and was like, she doesn't deserve this. To make it even more cryptic, October 21st is apparently Kim Kardashian's birthday.
Kim Kardashian.
And you know what Kim and Kanye did?
They got married a while and then divorced.
Yes, but Kanye wrote a song in which he mentioned Taylor Swift in that moment at the VMAs. She was upset by this, obviously. And so him and Kim released a recorded phone call with Taylor in which he's telling her he was going to mention her briefly in the song.
That was that news story.
Yeah. But it wasn't just brief. Like, he was calling her names and saying all this stuff about her. And he was like, you see, you said it was okay. And she's like, I said it was okay if you apologized to me and you said you wanted to just mention it a little bit in a song, you know? In the song, he referred to her as that bitch. Swift has always maintained she would not have approved this lyric, but Kim said she was self-serving for drawing attention to the leak. And so she started posting excerpts of the phone call, making it seem like Taylor Swift was like, yeah, you can call me that.
Kim Kardashian was posting excerpts from the call with Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Because she was there with Kanye when the phone call happened.
Right.
After the tape of the full conversation was made, when it made its way online, Swift posted a statement on Instagram asking fans to donate to the charity Feeding America instead of asking her how she felt about the leak. So, I mean, she probably felt like really frustrated and annoyed. And now she has all this attention on her and people are constantly asking her about it. Like,
yeah, nobody likes negative press.
No, I mean, also like just being that high, like status.
Yeah.
You don't get much privacy, you know?
You can't do anything that what we would consider a normal person could do. Like things like how we can go to the grocery store. Like, can't do that really when you're that level of fame that Taylor Swift is.
Yeah. Another thing he mentioned in the song was that Taylor Swift might owe me sex. That was a line.
The man was married at the time.
Yeah. And the tape actually shows Swift advising him not to use that line.
Okay.
Yeah. So eventually both sides tried to just let the news fall out.
Yeah.
You know? And her album Reputation is like very based on all of that. Yeah.
That's why it's called Reputation.
Crazy. And so people are saying like maybe a lot of this new album has to do with like similar themes, which is why when she wore that dress, that kind of threw back to the Kim Kanye thing, and then the album being on Kim's birthday.
Look what you made me do. I'm wearing a dress.
It's a really pretty dress though.
I'm sure it is.
Like, it's gorgeous. I want it.
We'll have to, I haven't seen it, but I believe you.
Yes. Should I go into some of the wild TikTok theories?
First, I'm just curious, how does this relate to William Shakespeare?
It's how cryptic she is and how people are reading into everything she does and everything she wears and decoding her to come up with these different narratives.
Okay. All right. So what's happening on TikTok?
Okay. So she released her albums, her like album song titles. And the first song title is called Lavender Haze, right? And there's actually been this like huge controversy on TikTok because apparently lavender is like a lesbian coined term. And people are angry at her for queer baiting.
What?
Yeah. I mean, this was a little bit ago. Like, I think maybe it passed where people have been constantly posting videos, like, hating on her for this.
That's a ridiculous claim.
I mean, I am not a part of the queer community, but she posted a video being like, I literally heard this phrase in Mad Men and I liked it.
So it sounds like this was just a coincidence.
Maybe, yeah. Probably.
So I see what you're saying about people reading into it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the Lover house in the music video for Lover. There was a house, and each house had different colors and everything. And people were like, okay, each room is a different album. And they have been like, all right, Folklore and what's the other one called?
Evermore?
Evermore. They are the stairwells, and they're like, oh, Midnight's is the sky around the house. And so they're all just reading into it. And I think this is actually probably purposeful. It's not like the whole, this is Kim's birthday and that's why I did this, and other things where she would have planned this 5 years in advance or something. But I think it's actually pretty cool with the house and how there is a different room for each one, each album.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool.
I believe this year she received an honorary doctorate from NYU, and she gave a speech at the 2022 commencement.
Uh-huh.
So, like, she's a doctor now.
Dr. Taylor Swift.
Dr. Taylor Swift, you know? Like, that's how dedicated she is to her lyrics and to her writings and her career.
That they gave her an honorary doctorate for.
Yeah, she worked really hard for it.
For the honorary doctorate?
I don't know. What's an honorary doctorate?
It's like the university just gives you one, but you're not actually, like, you can't call yourself Dr. Taylor Swift.
I mean, it just means they waive all the requirements, all the normal requirements.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if an honorary doctorate usually carries the weight of a regular doctorate, but if there's anybody for whom it should, I think Taylor Swift is a good person for that to be.
Yeah, I agree. I just looked it up and it says honorary doctorates have no academic merit.
Yeah, no, of course. I follow somebody, there's a YouTube creator named Brady Haran who makes a lot of educational, he has a whole network of educational YouTube channels for things like astronomy and physics and chemistry. Numberphile is his most famous one. It's all about math. And he has an honorary doctorate. And there's a bit of a meme about Dr. Brady Haran. But at the end of the day, he's not an actual doctor. He's just a guy who makes YouTube videos.
That's wild.
Yeah. But Taylor Swift is definitely a real doctor.
But not actually if the doctorate has no academic merit.
Maybe not in the academic community, but
In my heart,
it has as much weight as my grandfather's doctorate.
there you go. He has a doctorate?
Sorry, Grandpa.
Okay, but like, I'm not the only one who sees this. The University of Texas, Austin, put Taylor Swift on a syllabus in which they discussed different like poets and like Shakespeare and Dickinson and like Poe.
Okay,
you know?
so now
And they had a Taylor Swift unit because of her lyrics.
So now you're not the only person with this idea. Now there's an actual university who is comparing Taylor Swift to
Shakespeare.
poets and lyricists and Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also all these BuzzFeed quizzes and quizzes where it's like, who said it? Shakespeare or Taylor Swift?
All right. I was more skeptical, but you're starting to convince me for sure now.
Okay, so I could have just said the university thing and then you would have been like, oh, okay.
I think I needed the build up.
Okay. Yeah. So that is why I believe that Taylor Swift is the Shakespeare of our time. And that is also why I believe that William Shakespeare is in turn the Taylor Swift of the past.
But only in England in the 1500s.
Correct.
Okay. So when Taylor Swift drops an album, it's big news,
Yeah.
right? Everybody is like, oh, Taylor Swift's album. It's always like a huge event. There's all this build up to it. Do you think it was like that for Shakespeare as well? Do you think that he would like release posters and stuff that was like, this play has a shipwreck and two lovers? Like,
Wild.
do you think people were like, oh, let's read into this? Or probably not, because they couldn't read.
Then how'd they read the sign?
Well, now I'm realizing
They probably
that
just
probably
had a
didn't happen.
person that held a empty piece of paper because they also couldn't read, and they just announced it but made it look like they were reading it off the poster.
Hear ye, hear ye. Willie Shakes just dropped a hot, fresh new track. Come get a slice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that that is actually what happened. Okay, so she...
I think that if Shakespeare had a rapper name, it would be Little Willie.
Little Willie. I like it.
Lil Willie.
Lil Willie.
All right. So, if William Shakespeare was the Taylor Swift of his time, then, I mean, do you think there would have been like the equivalent of a bunch of media hype?
I mean, I never really thought about it. I kind of just joked about it because when we were talking, I kept mixing up how I phrased it.
I mean, I think that saying that William Shakespeare is the Taylor Swift of his time is, I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that. I think a lot of people would agree with you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's something that people would just kind of accept. And I think that it's probably, maybe it's just because of the level of fame that William Shakespeare had versus the level of fame that Taylor Swift has. I mean, I don't know if William Shakespeare was like getting mobbed by people, probably not. But fame meant different things back in that time than it does now. And so the level of fame that he probably had relative to the level of fame that was possible is probably comparable to what Taylor Swift has now.
I like to think so. I mean, except now we have like social media.
Well, now with social media, like there's a whole gradient of fame. You could be somebody on Instagram with 5,000 followers and you have, a community around you. Or you could be someone with 1 million followers and still like nobody really knows about you. The story that you hear all the time is like, you'll have somebody who introduces themselves and they'll be like, hi, my name is Alex. Happy to be here with you all. I have 1 million followers on TikTok. You don't know who this person is.
No, you don't.
And there's thousands of people who are internet famous.
Yeah, but that actually has value right now.
It does, but my point is that like you can be internet famous and still not very many people know who you are. Back in the 80s, for example, really any time before the internet, you were either famous to the point that everybody knows who you are or nobody knew who you were.
Yeah?
You were either the band that performed at the bar down the street or you were Guns N' Roses. Well, I'm convinced.
You're convinced?
I'm convinced. Taylor Swift is the Shakespeare of our time and nobody else.
Nobody else is. That is correct.
Well, okay, no, I'm not going to say that because a lot of people, there are a lot of people you could call the Shakespeare of our time, right? Tupac is a very famous example. You were talking about how there's the BuzzFeed quizzes where did Taylor Swift say this or did Shakespeare say it?
Mm-hmm.
They have the same things with Tupac and lots of other people. A lot of rappers, actually. One, because I think rap is the most popular music genre. And also because rap is fundamentally at its core, rap is poetry. Rhythm and poetry.
Yeah,
Rap.
100%.
Yeah. RAP, rhythm and poetry.
Is that really what it stands for?
Yeah. Rap stands for rhythm and poetry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I learned that like a month or two ago. There are lots of people who don't know it. And that's why I think a lot of people don't appreciate rap to the degree that I think it deserves. Well, I'll say this. Rap is a much more elevated art form than people from older generations give it credit for. Right? There are a lot of people from older generations, like older than our parents,
Yeah.
who it's hard for some of them to appreciate what it is fundamentally at its core, because during certain times in the US, there was a lot of stigma behind it from different interest groups.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with newer things and ideas, there's always like an older generation who are just not behind it, don't really appreciate it or understand it. I mean, look at Elvis.
I saw the Elvis movie.
You saw the movie with me
Yeah.
and my mom for her 6th time viewing it.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was good, but there were so many people who thought he was disgusting and didn't appreciate his art.
I just thought that he was old. No, you're right. Like there's always the older generation and younger generation dynamic.
I mean, it sucks because I'm sure in the past people are like, I can't believe my parents or grandparents don't like this or think this is disgusting. And they're like, when I get older, I'm not going to be like that. And then they get older and they are like that.
To like whatever the younger generation of their time is into.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about how like, there's a huge stigma against social media, right? Whether that stigma is right or wrong, don't care, right? There's a stigma. There's a big stigma from the older generation toward the younger generation. Before that, it was television, right? So now social media is going to ruin everybody's minds. Before, television was going to ruin everybody's minds. Before television, it was the radio, right? The radio is going to ruin everybody's minds.
Did people actually say the radio is going to ruin their minds?
Nobody said ruin their minds. It's not a great word choice, but they are like the radio. There were people who viewed the radio the way that people today view social media. And before that, there were people who were like that about reading. There were people in the distant past, after the printing press was invented and literacy started to increase, there were people who thought this whole reading business,
not good.
Not good. You've got all these
Our
people.
women are going to have thoughts now and opinions.
You got all these people reading. How do you think they're going to have thoughts for themselves if they're just reading other people's thoughts all day? That's what people thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they wanted them to have their own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
and opinions.
It's for the same reason that people have disdain for people today who spend too much time on social media, I do this with myself, right? When I listen to podcasts too much, I start to feel like I'm in this kind of funk where I'm listening to podcasts way too much. I'm not leaving any space in my mind for my own ideas. That doesn't mean that you go away right now, right? Don't stop listening to this podcast. This podcast is important, right? This doesn't apply to us.
We're literally called Wasted Minutes.
That's just a name. It doesn't mean anything. That's just our brand.